In 2012, the commercial banking sector's combined pre-tax profit grew by 20.6% to 107.9 billion shillings, and all banks reported increased profits that year, with the exception of the National Bank of Kenya, which reported a 53% drop in its profits to 1.5 billion shillings. At the time, NBK's net income had dropped by 53% to 729.8 million shillings, with interest income declining 6% to 4.77 billion shillings. Munir Ahmed took over NBK in 2012, a bank that had suffered a long history of bad debts and high operating costs.
72% of the entire loan portfolio of National Bank in 2012 December was in the riskiest product called personal unsecured lending.
First on his to-do list was restructuring the bank's payroll, which saw 190 employees retrenched out of a workforce of almost 1,800, an exercise that cost the bank 1 billion shillings. As part of its 5-year plan to transform into a top-tier bank, NBK also sought to boost its capital base by raising 13 billion shillings through a rights issue. With the additional funds, NBK would boost its capital base and open up 10 branches in Uganda, South Sudan and Somalia, expanding its network in the region by 2017. Despite approval from its shareholders at an AGM in 2013, the rights issue is yet to happen. One of the major sticking points here has been the bank's quest to convince its largest shareholders, the government and the National Social Security Fund, to convert their preferential shares into debt. Although preferential shares do not carry voting rights, holders of such shares are entitled to a dividend payout whether or not the bank makes money, thus making them an expensive source of capital. And with its key shareholders yet to allow the conversion of their preferential shares, NBK's core capital stands at 1.4 billion shillings, which does not meet the central bank's minimum prudential guidelines. And as National Bank CEO acknowledges, NBK is struggling to manage its costs and generate enough income from loans and other sections of the business.
National Bank had, and probably still has to a certain extent, the worst cost-income ratio of the banking industry at 75%.
This in comparison to the banking industry's 54%. Between January and March this year, NBK's loan book grew by 45% from 1.55 billion in March 2014 to 2.25 billion shillings as at end of March this year. However, the bank's provision for bad loans increased by just 10% from 141.4 million in March 2014 to 155.6 million in March this year. NBK's net profit for the first quarter of 2015, however, stood at 683.5 million shillings, up from 530.7 million in 2014. And as the bank awaits a response on its planned rights issue, National Bank is set to sell its non-core assets, which include 12 buildings, to raise 1.2 billion in order to boost its capital base. Balaganga Citizen Business Center.